Okay, we live. All right, welcome back, everyone. You're looking live at Generation to Generation Cowboys and Sports Talks. I'm the host, DJ. I tell you what, and I have my dad with me, my co-host, Cowboy Joe 64, aka Capricorn One.
I am your father. Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
And we are back to rule the galaxy, Cowboys Galaxy, as father and son. So, you want to say what's up to the people?
What's up, people?
All right. So today, the name of this show is "Can the Cowboys Turn It Around, or Is It Too Late?" I know we had a similar type of season um, a couple years back, and they made a trade at the deadline for Amari Cooper, and they got it turned around. Now this is a totally different season, totally different set of circumstances, um, but the season is not over until it's over, and right now it's not. And so also shout out to my cousin Mike Gray. He said he was going to be interested to see what we were going to talk about today, and he's a Philadelphia Eagle fan. But shout out to Mike Gray and Mike Gray Films. And so what did you want to what did you think about that? We can have our questions. Do you think the season is over? And if not, and what do you think that we can do to turn this around? Or what do you think the most? I won't say I know what we could do to turn it around. What's the most likely thing that you think that's going to happen for us to turn it around? I guess.
So I think the reason we can turn it around is because it's a long season. It's 9 games left, and we saw last year that a lot of the teams that jumped out early, they kind of had injuries later on in the season. They lost games. So I just think it's one team in the NFC that's going to stay way ahead of everyone else. That's Detroit. And I believe every other team, like Tampa's playing tonight, they're going to lose. Um, the Green Bays, Minnesota lost yesterday. There was this thought that the North Division was just going to have, 3 or 4 teams in the playoffs. I think there's a possibility that a lot of these teams are kind of going to go through what we're going through right now. So what you want to do is just try to stay competitive, still try to make some adjustments, and you just keep playing. I mean, there's no reason for after 7, 8 games to say, "Oh, we're gonna tank the season." I mean, it's not like that. It's a NFL season is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So I think we just need to just kind of take a step back, see what we can do, just kind of build on what we did yesterday, and then literally just take it one game at a time. It's an old cliche, but it really is true. So next week you got one game to play, and just say to yourself every week is going to be a playoff game, and just approach it that way from here on out. I think I really like what Cooper Rush did when he came in. One thing he's going to do, if we just avoid turnovers, we're going to have a chance to win a lot of these games. And if he can just play the game and not turn the ball over, it's going to be competitive. And hopefully that's what you're going to see on Sunday.
Yeah, when he came in a couple years ago, he really, now our defense did hold him down, and they were definitely playing above average, and they helped him stick out some games. So, Dak did get hurt yesterday, and he tweaked the hamstring. Now, some of us are under the impression that we wanted him to run the ball, we wanted him to use his legs more. And so he obviously he came out yesterday, and he was trying to put an emphasis on that. He obviously heard the cries from the fans and from everyone and from the media, and he started using his legs. And you know, some of us think that that's the reason why he's hurt, and some of us think that that's the reason why he hasn't been running this whole time, is because he knows that he really just can't do that anymore. He's in his 9th year as a professional, and he knows what time it is. But uh, you know, as you know, that just to me that just shows you un how uncoordinated or how not together um this team is, like with Mike McCarthy. If I had a quarterback that I knew really couldn't run that well or really didn't need to use his legs, because that's not like a misnomer in the NFL. There's a lot of quarterbacks that cannot run and that are not fast. You look at Aaron Rodgers. Patrick Mahomes ain't fast. You know what I mean? There's a lot of quarterbacks that just don't run like that, but they have to use their arms and they have to have an offense where they have good blocking, number one, and they have to have a good scheme to where their receivers are wide open, like most of the NFL does. I be watching a lot of these plays from a lot of these teams, and you know the QBR and the completions are misleading because it'll make it seem like this quarterback is just having an awesome game and he's playing just so awesome, but 90% of his throws be to wide open receivers. And that's just never the case with the Cowboys. Every single yard is hard. I mean, fourth and one, third and one, you know, we doing reverses and coming out of shotgun and third and one and fourth and one. Everything is so hard. Nothing is fluent. And so I think also when we bring back Cooper, when Cooper Rush comes in, I don't know if they're gonna play Trey Lance or not. That's it. There is
I,
some
I
talk about that.
wouldn't. I wouldn't at this point. I would give Cooper Rush a couple of games. I think the Eagles game and Houston. Houston not playing the way they played last year. I really wish we was playing Houston first.
Yeah.
But uh, but I think Cooper Rush uh, will give you a shot,
Mm-hmm.
and at this point they need to do just kind of mix it up a little bit. I really like the way Rico played. I thought Ferguson played well. You had some things that you can just kind of take and move forward with it. Obviously you have some of the concerns of play calling with McCarthy with down and distance. Some of these short yardage plays. In the 49er game, he had a 3rd and 5. He used Lukey. Yesterday he had a 3rd and 1. He should have used Lukey. So McCarthy is still just he's not in his bag, and it's making a difference. But offensively, you know, Tolbert competed. He had a couple of plays. He scored a touchdown. He had one play. He just needed another step. It was a touchdown. So I look at guys are playing hard. I really like the way Overshawn continues to show up. He didn't. I thought he played uh, one of his better games. I don't know. I think Pittsburgh was probably his best game, but he was really good yesterday. He just down in and down out. He was playing. Defensively. I mean, my thing is the defense. I think the defense is doing enough for us to be competitive and win some games. They just had a couple of slips up. They had Donovan Wilson in coverage in the end zone. He shouldn't have been. We got to clarify on Wanye because Wanye came in and played, but then he got banged up. I can't remember if he came in after that and played. But
I'm gonna look it up right now.
the game. It's just a couple of things we do to just put us in a situation where we get down 2 scores when you don't really have to. The fake punt. Don't understand why Bones is still being allowed to affect games. This is not something new. He did it last year. But when you kind of hit a spot like this where you're not playing good, just goofy stuff like that happens. So if we can just play a game with no special teams penalties, no fake reverse kickoffs and no fake punts, you're gonna have a chance to win games. And that's what's hurting us, unfortunately. It's just stuff that shouldn't be happening. That play they ran with Godwin, you really got a punter. He's throwing a 20 yard out. Godwin didn't even know the ball was coming, it looked like. So you just can't do those things. And that was just a critical play. So if we can just at some point you're gonna stop making those mistakes and you're gonna have a chance to win a game. Now Sunday, Eagles ain't gonna give you a whole lot of opportunity to make them mistakes. We'll talk about the Eagles later in the week, but your number one thing this week, you got to stop Saquon. And yesterday, all in all, I thought we did decent on Bijan. What did you think?
Yeah, we did. I mean, we did good against Bijan. I mean, he got his runs in, but we slowed him down. And the Cowboys, they typically, last year, I know it's different this year, but they typically do okay against when they have a stellar running back. When they have a stellar running back come in, they never get what you expect them to get. I mean, like, you know, they have good games, but they don't really get what you expect them to get. I mean, I think they're gonna do good against Saquon. They always do. This ain't gonna be our first time playing Saquon. We play Saquon twice a year since he's been in the league, and he never just has a outstanding game against us, and
Mm.
so I mean, as a matter of fact, I can look at a lot of games that Saquon really, really lost for them. Last year, a couple of times, at 4th and 1, Saquon dropped the ball, and so I mean, but Saquon is having a good season, and Kellen Moore is very familiar with our team, so they're going to be trying to run Saquon. They're going to try to, he's a bell cow. They're going to feed him. They're not going to stop unless they get behind. If they get behind, they'll stop. But if they're not behind, they're gonna try to run. Kellen Moore going to try to run Saquon all over us. And then on that play with that punt play, this just shows you how they are so unprepared. You know who was on the other side of that ball? Who was on the other side? Who was the other gunner?
Who?
Flournoy. So you mean to tell me you're gonna do a fake punt and then you're gonna use the punter to throw a 20-yard out, but instead of you throwing a 20-yard out to a receiver who is taller and faster and has better hands than his counterpart Godwin, who is a defensive back. So why would you throw it to a defensive back and you have Flournoy on the other side? They should just switch spots. If they switch spots, then Flournoy is a receiver. He might turn. He turns around and his mind is in the game as far as receiving goes. He's a receiver that doesn't get to play that much anyway. So I'm sure that if he was on the punt, he can't wait for it to be a fake punt because he knows. So he probably would have knew that, and he probably would have turned around and he would have ran the route right. He probably would have turned around and he probably would have been more successful than Godwin was. But why would you throw it to a cornerback when you have a receiver on the other side? That just doesn't make any sense.
Well, going back to the 49er game, if you're going to run a reverse kick, you should be running it with somebody that is normally carrying the ball. I wouldn't use Deuce on a kickoff return like that. I just don't think that's his skill set. But you got other backs on the team. You could have just, if you're going to do that, just, or a receiver, you're going to run a reverse kickoff. Just put another receiver out there and let him run it. But these are the kind of things that are happening with our team. It's just happening. And then when you start losing, these are the kind of things that, if you go back last year and just look at teams that, losing games, teams down the stretch, you're going to see stuff like that. And that's kind of what's and last year when we won like 6 or 7 games in a row coming down the stretch before Green Bay, we were not doing those kind of things. We had a couple of slip ups like in Detroit. We had some really crazy play calls at the end, but we were not making those kind of mistakes. So that's kind of what McCarthy. We on McCarthy watch, and we've had a lot of stuff today where people are interviewing Jerry and Stephen, and they're never gonna say that they're gonna fire McCarthy. That's not gonna happen. McCarthy will get fired if and when he gets fired. Up to that, they're gonna make you think that he's the coach here, even though he doesn't have a contract. They're gonna make it sound like he might get an extension, and then it will happen.
Tell him about Foots the King, and tell him about Jason Garrett and how that went.
So shout out to Foots. He found a quote, and I told you it was Foots. I hope it was Foots, but he had a quote from Jerry Jones 4 years ago. A week before he fired Jason Garrett, he talked about Jason Garrett as if he was going to be the future coach. He just commented that he was a great leader. he knows the game really well, and he's in command of the team, and he's a great resume. And then a week later, Gary was fired. So when Jerry and Steven are interviewed, you can't really put too much into what they're saying, and but McCarthy, he's basically on notice. I mean, it's going to be game to game. So Sunday is another chance for McCarthy to really just do something to save his job. Now, one idea I had, like I was listening to Vaj last night. Vaj, he just said, shout out to Vaj. He just said they should just fire McCarthy. They should fire the coaches now. One idea I had is what Jerry and Steven ought to do. They ought to just go to McCarthy and just tell him that, we're not firing you. Well, at the moment, but just let Brian Schottenheimer take over the play calling the rest of the way. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. Now, McCarthy, if they approach him with that, he can just tell them that he's not in favor of it, and that's when you get fired. But at this point, you don't have anything to lose just letting Brian Schottenheimer call the plays. And I think it would be something that will probably be exciting for the players, and that's the kind of thing you would do. And the other thing I would do, I would tell Bones, we got a game Sunday. What you're gonna do is you're gonna kick the ball off, and we're gonna cover it. Okay. You're not doing any fake punts. You're not doing no reverses. We're just playing basic football. And if you do anything outside of that, you will get fired because he's costing us games.
Yeah, he's costing us games, and he's gonna be another one of the coaches that has to go when next year, in the off season. But what are your thoughts on this? I remember, I don't know if it was last year preseason or this year preseason, but I thought it was a great idea when during the preseason game McCarthy had Dak calling the plays on the sideline. He made him call plays, and I thought that was just a good idea because it just kind of gives Dak the wherewithal or the practice to be able to manage it, to be able to manage calls in game. That what I mean, like that would be, you see a defense, you're a quarterback, you see what defense they're running, so you should be able to call plays from the sidelines.
So
And
what you want Cooper Rush to call his own plays?
no, I want Dak to call the plays even while he's on
So,
the sideline.
so question: if Dak is on injured reserve, can he do that?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. He's not going to be
You need,
active.
you need to research that. Do they have to like designate him something to let him call plays? But that's look, at this point, I would be willing to try anything,
Because
but
he's
I
gonna
would,
be out there, right? I mean, he's not. It's not like, I
yeah,
don't think he's not on IR yet.
but I would just if you're going down that road, just let Schottenheimer call the plays, because that's to me that just makes more sense. But
But yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I
uh,
want to see. I want to see Schottenheimer call plays. I mean, like no, and it is not just because it's really. I don't want it to be misconstrued and make it seem like we're just saying that because we're just trying something. The reason why we're saying that is because Mike McCarthy's play calling is has really ruined, in my opinion, has really ruined our offense.
and that's what Vach was basically saying. Vach was basically saying everything that's happening is going right to McCarthy's doorstep. And let me say this: Brian Schottenheimer does not have a reputation of being like a great play caller.
He was actually a
He
failure in Seattle.
yeah, but at this point, you know, just let's just see what he got. McCarthy, he's just not showing anything where he's going to just come out and get in his bag and start calling a better game.
And,
So we don't have anything to lose.
and you know how we always get back to the Joneses don't know how to make good hires. It's just like some some people are good students. You know what I mean? Like you like for instance, Andy Reid. Andy Reid, he was with the Eagles. His system was outdated. And he took some time off, went and studied some new concepts, some better concepts to kind of innovate his offense. He came back, and now he's one of the leading innovative coaches with a great playbook won some championships. You know, McCarthy was supposed to do that when he got fired from Green Bay for the
Mm.
exact same reason that what we have going on here right now, right? I mean, that's the same exact reason.
And I'm a hit you with something that you're gonna hear come up, especially toward the end of the season. You know who's doing the same thing right now that McCarthy did when he was out? John Gruden. So John Gruden is gonna catch somebody. So somebody's gonna fall into the old. John Gruden has been out of the league 4 years, and he's doing something on YouTube. That's what he's doing. So
Mhm.
he gonna take somebody for some money. It's probably Jerry's gonna interview John Gruden.
Oh yeah, for sure. That makes perfect sense for them.
Yeah, and it'll be a mistake
Hmm.
because he's gonna come in. He's not gonna be the same John Gruden. He's
Hmm.
gonna be. I was sharing with somebody today. That's the concern I have with Belichick. When these guys are older, Father Time is undefeated. You just never know what you're gonna get. Sometimes you can hire these coaches, just like Zim. Everybody thought Zim was gonna be this fire and brimstone and the old Zim. He hasn't been that because he's older.
That's what I was
So
just saying about like the good students. Some of these guys are just good students, and some of them are not. Like McCarthy, he's just not a good student. He just didn't change, even when it comes to Kellen. Now we like to down Kellen because Kellen was Jerry's poster child. Kellen doesn't know. Kellen was just wet behind the ears. He doesn't really have a scheme. He doesn't know how to call plays. It'll be 3rd and 15, and he'll call a draw. He doesn't know how to go there. It's a lot of things that Kellen Moore didn't do. But but the good things that Kellen Moore did with his offense, Mike McCarthy didn't take those things from Kellen Moore because we haven't seen them. And then
mhm,
Kellen Moore, you know, he does do some goofy stuff, but he's at least doing okay in Philadelphia so far from what we've seen. Like we ain't never known Kellen Moore to run the ball like that. He running the
mhm,
ball right now. So we ain't never seen that. So I mean, like maybe Kellen took a step back and said, I need to get better at this. And that's what
mhm.
McCarthy has not done. You see, he hasn't gotten better at anything. Each year
Yeah.
has been either the same or worse.
One of the things that kind of will come up with McCarthy, and it happened in Green Bay. There are people that would just question him just putting the time in, just to go
Yep.
in, and then you don't want to question his work commitment. But again, like I said, it's not even a work commitment. Sometimes when you're old and set in your ways, you just have this thing where it's just like this is what you're gonna do, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's what happened with Vic Fangio. He was one of the OGs on coordinating defense, but when he went to Miami, he wasn't flowing with those guys. His methods were not working, and some of the guys with the Dolphins, they were on record as saying that they thought his schemes were outdated. They didn't agree with a lot of what he was doing. Some of it wasn't working. So now, he's an older coach, so he's got another chance at Philly. I haven't heard a lot about Philly's defense, but
Mm-mm.
some of these guys, when they get old in their ways, they just don't want to adapt. These young coaches, the Sean McVays, the Shanahan, the Ben Johnsons, younger people, we like results, and we're kind of not we. I'm not that young, but your people, your age, you guys are the microwave generation. If something ain't working, you ain't gonna sit around and just watch the thing kind of just falter. You're gonna be looking, okay, what is the next best thing I can do? And that's why at the end of the day, Jerry needs to hire a young, innovative coach. He doesn't need to go down this road again with these old coaches. And of course, everybody's going to talk about Belichick, and we'll talk about that when the time comes. The only difference between Belichick, Gruden, who was the other coach we were talking about? The older guy. So Belichick,
Big
Gruden,
Fangio.
Vic Fangio, Ron Rivera, these are people that Jerry would look at as far as head coach. Even Sean Payton. Sean Payton is not doing that great at Denver because some of the same reasons that McCarthy is not. But so yeah. Now, what I was going to say with Belichick, the one thing about Belichick is he has 8 rings. Okay, you don't win 8 Super Bowls and not be special. There's something that you have that these other, so, and I'm not the one. I think I talked about this on one of our shows. I'm not in the mindset that all of those championships were just Tom Brady. It was really both.
Yeah, it has to
Because
be both. It can't be just one.
some of those teams, they didn't even really have great talent. It was just good coaching, and he had good assistant coaches too. So look, if
Oh,
you told
also, let's just point out that the way that they built their franchise was incredible.
Yeah, they was the most successful team working with the salary cap. What
Hmm.
what New England did is what Jerry calls himself doing, having a lot of players that's kind of like no name players, not playing them a lot, paying them a lot. But New England was able to do that because they had Brady, but they also just had great coaching. So if you told me I had a choice between Belichick, Ron Rivera, uh, you know,
I mean, Belichick is the greatest coach of all time. It just shouldn't be no,
yeah.
I
But the
mean,
question is going to be, if you hire him, is he going? If you gonna just walk out on the field one day, and he's literally like he's looking 85 years old, and he's just
well,
really,
his girlfriend is like 22.
yeah, I saw that. I've been I've
So
been I've been checking that out. But
so he needs to. I feel like I understand what you're saying, and I'm totally against the hiring the old guys. I don't want to do that. This is a young man's league. This is a
yeah,
this is a young brain league here. This is Ben Johnson and Bob Slowick. These are people that Tampa Bay's coordinator. These
hmm
guys, the guy that got fired from the Saints today. You
and I'm
know,
gonna just keep talking about it. I have to bring what my background is to the show. So, I worked for FedEx for 33 years, and uh, I was actually a call center manager, but we were like a tech center. We did a lot of technology, and FedEx is a great company because they were always innovative. They were always forward thinking. They never got old. If you had something out there that worked, the technology, just the speed of doing things, they
mhm.
were gonna do it. They didn't just sit back and, oh, uh, it was just a very innovative company, and they just kept you on your toes. It was, our middle name was change. They were always just a forward thinking company, and that's what's happening with Jerry and Steven. It's just they have this $1 billion franchise, but they have just this uh, Ford, 1968 Ford Studebaker mentality with the team. It's just the innovation is not there. It's the forward thinking is not there, and hopefully, what they're gonna do after this offseason, man, they need a sea change. But you
And
know,
see, also like to piggyback off what you're saying, like I think, like one of the things that I think one of the things that I'm really good at is critical thinking, right? I'm really good at that. So when you have a situation, no matter, and also I've been in the workforce for 15 years. If you have a process that just doesn't work, it doesn't matter, it doesn't work. If you have a process that doesn't work, what you do is you go in and you immediately cut that process out and change it all the way together until you figure out a solution that works. So for instance, Jerry Jones built a stadium east and west instead of north and south. So that's wrong on so many levels. Okay, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So year after year after year, in playoff games and in games and crucial downs, the crucial plays of the game, you have Cowboys players that are blinded by the sun beaming through the stadium when it shouldn't even be set up east and west. Number one. Number two, you have the sun beaming in their faces. And when someone asks Jerry about this, he acts like this is just not a fact, or it's not true, or it has no effect. He literally will say it has no effect on the game. But you go ask Cedric Wilson why he didn't make that catch, and he will say because the sun was beaming in my face. Or you ask
mhm.
CD,
It just happened with Tolbert.
it just happened with Tolbert this season. What happened on that play? Why didn't you catch that ball? I mean, it hit you in your chest. You were alone. And he will tell you, I mean, you can clearly see on the TV, well, he can't see the ball because the sun is beaming in his face. And then So you have things like that happens, and Jerry does nothing with all the technology. All you gotta do is tint the windows or put curtains up. No, I mean you just helping your team,
Yeah.
and he refuses to do things like that and make those type of changes, and then refuses to acknowledge them. On top of that,
And that's what's been happening with just I was talking to some people today about the three phases of the game. The Cowboys have the Cowboys. The hold on one second.
and it's just like
So the Baltimore Ravens, the Philadelphia Eagles, the 49ers, the Chiefs, all these teams has been in and out of the championship games, Super Bowl. They have three phases of the game. They got special teams, offense, and defense. In Dallas, we have a fourth phase. It's the salary cap. So what's happened in Dallas is the fans in our area, they've basically been, just fed the Kool-Aid that there's a fourth phase of the game and it's the salary cap. But in Baltimore, it's defense, offense, special teams. Kansas City is the same. We're the only team in the NFL. We got a fourth phase of the game
we
that
got we
really
got we got the phrases. It's enough. It's only enough pie to go around. We like our guys. Draft and development.
mhm.
Young
Next
guys.
man up.
Yeah, next man up. Play harder. They got all of these sayings. Or these are excuses. That's what they are. And then you know,
We
every
like our guys.
we like our guys. Every team is a draft and develop team.
Mhm.
Guys, every team is a draft and develop team, but no team is solely a draft and develop team except the Cowboys. That ought to tell you something. No one just only uses the draft and declares that, and then drafts poor on top of that. Another thing that the Cowboys have bamboozled the fans to think: Will McClay is not doing a good job. He's tied to the Joneses. So if they haven't been successful in 28 years, neither has he. So he pounded on the table for Mozzie. We seen that. I don't even know if Mozzie played yesterday. That's how inept he was.
He played. People were sending out messages on Twitter. He was just getting blown off the ball.
This is just outstanding. So how you need to ask.
Schoon, did Schoon did he play?
I don't know.
I
We
know
need to
he
ask.
had Schoon had a holding call.
Yeah, he had a holding call, and he's supposed to be a blocking tight end though.
I'm gonna say this right now. Taco was better than Schoon and Mozzie.
Then that's a shame. And I really hate to say this too, right here. Oh, I hate to say this, boy. Michigan, they defensive tackles that they got right now, they some big boys, and they good.
Well, somebody talked about that last week on Twitter. Will we ever take another Michigan player? And my response was I would have taken Chad Hutchinson because when you watch Chad Hutchinson, he just jumped off the screen.
Well, these
If
boys that they got right now, the defensive tackles, they both jump off the screen. Ain't no question
yeah,
about it.
I mean, so I would take a Michigan player if they're good. I mean, when you got talent, you can see it, and you don't need 2 or 3 years to develop. I mean, people were saying I was pushing back on people saying, where defensive tackles take 2 or 3 years to develop. No, if you got talent, just like the guys you're looking at now in Michigan, I could tell just watching Chad Hutchinson, and it wasn't going to take him 2 or 3 years to develop. He came
Yeah,
in ready to play, just like
it didn't take
T.J.
Peter Mayer.
Watt didn't take 2 or 3 years to develop.
It didn't take yeah. Oh, another Rod Marinelli Will McClay pick. People want to say, "Oh yeah, that was Rod Marinelli that took Taco over T.J. Watt." Yeah, but Will McClay is your head scout. Will McClay
Well,
should Taco shouldn't even been a a possible
well,
player to pick right there for Rod Marinelli.
I think in Will McClay's defense on that one, I think Rob Marinelli picked him. So Will McClay is just trying to cover on that one. So that was Marinelli, and so but yeah,
But
Will McClay. I think Brian Broaddus came back in one of his later episodes. He basically said, "Yeah, that was just Will trying to fall on the sword. So the problem with the whole Marinelli thing was that the Joneses allowed Marinelli to do that.
That's what I'm saying, and it's just like you can. It's just like it's the chicken and the egg. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Rob Marinelli that picked the pig, but it's just like a chicken and the egg. You can blame who can you? Let's just say the offense is inept. You can really blame Jerry for that because he hired McCarthy. So it's just
Yeah.
like the chicken and the egg. So my whole thing is, if I'm a scout, right? If I'm a scout and I got a defensive coordinator that's picking players, and my defensive coordinator tells me I want somebody that meets this, and this, and they come off the ball like this. I want a defensive end. That's what I'm looking for. My thing is, if I'm a scout, I'm a lead scout. I'm going in there with my paper and I'm saying, well, Taco is not even a name that I'm presenting to Rob Marinelli. He's not even on the list. And then
That's
I would
that's where McClay is at fault.
right, and that's what I would tell him. I would tell, and I also would tell Rob Marinelli this: you want a defensive tackle? Well, I mean, you want a defensive end, somebody that can rush the passer. Well, you got this guy T.J. Watt here. Now he don't fit what you're saying, but I'm making the call on this, and I'm saying that we should take this guy over anybody else that I got on this list, and we
Yeah.
should make a position for him. And it's just like that doesn't happen, and then Rob Marinelli picks Taco, and then Will McClay is like, oh well, everybody like,
And then the following year, Rob Marinelli did the same thing, and he took Tristan Hill when they could have taken DK Metcalf.
we can. Oh
Same
my
thing.
god, same thing. And then you got these every year. We see the war room, and they bring these coaches in the office, and every time they do it, when they bring the coaches in the war room, we just put our heads down because we know what's finna happen. We know
Now,
what's finna
now,
happen.
now, this year, when the history is told of the 23 and 24 draft, especially the 23 draft, we're gonna have to go back and find out how did Schoon and Mozzie get on the board where they were. What I would like to know, I want to see the Cowboys board from 23. I want to see the Ravens, Chiefs, Eagles, Packers, 49ers. I want to see their board. And I think what we're going to find out is that Schoon and Mozzie on their boards were not in the top 4 rounds. That's probably
Well,
what we're going to find.
what I was telling you is that we really got to do some research on that because that the question that we should be asking ourselves is why was they drafted where they were drafted, not how did they get up on the board, because we seen their
Yeah.
board, and Luke Schoolmaker what was on their board. He was like a 6th round pick, I think.
Yeah, you,
So
you said that. So the question is, how
okay,
did
I got it
yeah,
right here. I got it right here. So I'm for the share it. I don't. I'm for the share. I got it right here. I don't think that I ain't gonna
you say
be.
I don't
Yeah.
think you should show it. Just talk about it. But
Well,
but
I got it
yeah,
right here. It says that the blue chip players were Devin Witherspoon, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, and Broderick Jones. And it says round 1 targets. Listen to this. Round 1 targets: Quentin Johnson, Darnell Wright, Zay Flowers, Dalton Kincaid, Osiris Torrance, and Will McDonald. Who name don't you hear? You don't hear
Mozzie.
Mozzie's name. Okay. So round 2 targets: Mozzie Smith, Cam Smith, Emmanuel Forbes, Jameer Gibbs, Drew Sanders, Trent Simpson, and Steve Avila. Now, here's the thing with that. You mean to tell me that your only targets in the first round was Quentin Johnson, Darnell Wright, Zay Flowers, Dalton Kincaid, Osiris Torrance, and Will McDonald? That is 6 players. So you mean to tell me that if those 6 players are not there, you don't have anyone else that you could take in the first round that's better than Mozzie Smith?
Well, that's probably true, but at the same time, they took Mozzie because Will McClay decided to put him in that spot because he said that they needed a defensive tackle. So
And no
it
one
was
can say
just a
that that's
reach.
not true
Now your
because
second round, Scone was not in the second round
or the third.
or the third. So yeah,
Okay.
it's like we just need to have when it's all said and done, we need some old school reporting on what happened with that draft.
I gotta point this out because I just seen this. Tell me this. Why is Will McClay? Okay, tell me this. Is why are these your round 4 targets? Now listen to this. This is your round 4 targets: Luke Schoonmaker, Tank Bigsby, Kendre Miller, Roshan Johnson, Jonathan Mingo, DeMarvion Overshawn, Marte Mapu, and Anthony Bradford. No, none of those players are on the same caliber as Louis Schoonmaker. None of them. Tank Bigsby is way better than him. Kendre Miller is way better than him. Roshan Johnson is
Well,
way
he
better
hasn't.
than him.
Roshan Johnson hasn't played.
Right. But still, in college, he was way better than him. And Jonathan
Yeah.
Mingo. I mean, like what? Demarion Overshawn. What are we saying here?
Well, the
You mean
reason that they had Schoonmaker in there is because somebody in the organization had in their mind, we believe it was McCarthy, had in their mind that they needed another tight end. And the irony is what's hurting Dallas right now. And this is one of the trades I think they should make on tomorrow. So we'll talk about tomorrow. We'll talk about it on Wednesday because tomorrow we're not going to do a show. But what's hurting Dallas right now is they don't have a second tight end. That's killing Dak. So every good team, they have that number one tight end, but their number two is not too far off the beaten path, and that's killing Dallas. And so that's
I
not
be looking at I
Stone.
be looking at the Chiefs the Chiefs
Yeah.
second
What would be
man,
perfect for us if we had a player like Zach Ertz, somebody in that same type of you know
category.
category with the veteran guy, the guy that's just knows the tricks of the trade. That's what Dak needs. So tomorrow, I don't really think they're gonna do a lot. But if they trade for a backup tight end, that would be good because that's really what we need. Because some of these drives, like that 49er drive where we couldn't get the ball moved on 3rd and 10 on that last drive, that second tight end is tremendous. And Schoon and Brevin Span Ford, they're just not in. We could have used that second tight end yesterday. So
I
hopefully
think
that's
my
something
hot
that they're
take.
looking at.
Yeah, hopefully it is. My hot take is that it's a few positions that I say that they should try to trade for because it's going to help us now and it's going to help us later. I think they need to look at trading for a safety. I think they need to look at trading for a running back, and I need to look at trading for a tight end. Now
Yeah.
I put safety at the bottom,
They
but
just need to play Wanye and Bell.
yeah, obviously they're not doing that for whatever reason.
Yeah, so the running back and what was the other one?
Tight end.
Yeah, it's so I think safety. We just need to play the guys that we have. I'm gonna beat it like a dead horse. You can play Dono and play Wanye. You can do
Yeah,
it.
you can do it. You just have to put them out there in the right situations. I think that I really would like a tight end that's like a receiver, kind of
But
like John Stevens.
yeah, you had a guy on your team that could have helped, and you didn't. You just made him inactive for 5 straight games. Just incredible. Now
That
he's
is.
hurt.
Uh,
So you ready to go ahead and wrap?
yeah, let's go ahead and wrap. We appreciate y'all for commenting, liking, and subscribing, giving us our views.
Did you get
Uh,
our Facebook page thing fixed?
I did.
So tell people about our Facebook page.
Yeah, so our Facebook is Generation to Generation Cowboys and Sports Talks, or Gen to Gen Cast. We want everybody to go over there and follow us on Facebook, and make sure you like the post, and make sure you follow us on Facebook. So every time that we post or anything that we have going on, you will
Mhm.
be able to see. You'll be able to keep up with us, and we'll be putting on there who we're gonna have on the show when that time comes around. We'll be putting on there the projects that we are gonna be working on. Like we got a few shows that we're gonna do coming up with Star. Shout out to Star, and we're gonna do a show with Big Time Show, Big Time. So we're gonna put
We're
the
working on it.
we're working on it, I should say. And so once we get those confirmed, we'll be putting those on the Facebook so everyone can see. And we'll be putting links to their channels up there as well. So you all make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next one. We appreciate y'all.
Peace.
Peace.